Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Tuesday. It is the Earthmaster out here on this end, October 15th, 2024, about 11:53 a.m. California time. Latest activity here on the globe shows a 2.6 earthquake way up into the Alaska area, where there's been a little bit of swarming going on here recently. It died off for about a day. It looks like it's starting to come back up here around the Arctic Village area of Alaska for the latest quake of 2.6. Here's the last 7 days of earthquake activity. Just to the north here is where that swarming area is taking place. So potentially, looks like it may start to be filling in a little bit here across this area. We'll keep an eye on the Alaska region. Excuse me. I just lost my voice all of a sudden. Goodness. All right. So anything major going on out here across the world in terms of large-scale activity? Not looking at the moment. 4.8 over here in Greece. Going to be the latest earthquake here in the last 24 hours, and the latest and the largest here across the area. Let's go ahead and take a look here at this area, see what we got out around the Cyprus area, just off the coast here of Turkey, along the plate boundary. Been fairly active over here in the last week or so. Looking at the earthquake 3D globe, still shows some movement over there. Kind of ramping up. I need to drop this down just a little bit. Looks like it's past the 24-hour threshold. For whatever reason, it likes to adjust itself here for some reason as far as the date goes. But that should be about the last 24 hours of earthquake activity. Still somewhat active out here in this area, mainly across the entire region here. So things are starting to move out there in that area of the world. The rest of the areas out here, let's take a look at New Zealand. Some 3 stirring up out here. Some more deeper activity into the Tonga Trench. California, West Coast. Let's see what we got going on out here across the California area. Anything major going on? Looks like the northern end, or the southern end here of the Cascadia subduction zone. A couple smaller earthquakes this morning. 1.7 and a 2.1. I'm sure we'll see a little bit of amplified tremor activity out here once the map comes out later on this evening. We'll have to check out the Cascadia tremor, but that looks like related to the Cascadia subduction zone. Also underneath Lake Albanor area, a couple smaller earthquakes about 8 o'clock this morning. A 2.9 and a 2.6. Some earthquakes here outside of the east of Willits area here in the mountain range. A couple earthquakes today so far, 1.9, 2.4, and a 1.7. So things are picking up a little bit here across the northern California area. And it looks like all this activity kind of stirred up at about the same time here, indicating that the pressure is making its rounds out here across the plate boundary. Southern California, nothing showing up too big. 2.5 out here across the Avenal area, western side here of the San Joaquin Valley, just off of the Parkfield segment of the San Andreas Fault here, where we're getting a little bit of activity stirring up out here in the last 24 hours, mainly along the creeping segment here of the San Andreas Fault. Of course, we're coming up upon the time where we see a regular 6-pointer out here every 20 to 22 years. The last one was back in 2004. So that puts it at about 20 years there since the last 6-pointer. And on average here, we see it roughly about 20 to 22 years. So that should be kicking up here in terms of a 6-pointer on that segment. Southern California down here yesterday, we were kind of keeping an eye on the Salton Sea area. A little swarm of earthquake activity out there. Today, only 1.2, about 2 o'clock this morning in that same area. But really nothing of major activity stirring up out here for now. A couple smaller earthquakes out here across Southern California today. Malibu 1.3, 2.1 from last night up here off the one of these fault systems here. Many different fault systems here in Southern California. Goodness. But for now, elevated activity remains low. If we look at the last 7 days here of 2.5 and above, the largest here for the Southern California area going to be that 3.6 in Death Valley. I'm trying to find something around the Los Angeles area. Not a whole lot going on here across the Los Angeles area in the last 7 days, but we'll continue to watch it, right? Because it's been coming in waves here over the last couple months. We'll get these elevated periods of earthquake activity followed up by a few days of quietness. But, you know, it's active on a broad scale out here. If you look at various areas, you got these little earthquakes filling in the blink regions, or the areas that are absent of quakes are starting to fill in a little bit. So we still have earthquake activity, just nothing on the large size as of yet, as of now. Yellowstone National Park, 1.8 outside of Lake Yellowstone. So let me go see what's going on there. There's Trimmer from last night. I want to check out Yellowstone here real quick, see what we got going on. 1.8. All right, so yeah, it's going to be one of these quakes here. It looks like that was around 9:30 something. So this is going to be West Coast. 9:30 was my time. One more time zone. Oh, well, that wouldn't make sense there, right? That would be going backwards. But it looks like that 1.8 is around 0833, which would coincide with this one right here. A couple other smaller quakes since then, but really nothing big going on there across Yellowstone National Park. Fairly quiet in terms of any seismic activity goes. Just a couple smaller microquakes out there. Colorado oil fields out here. I'm pretty certain there's a bunch of oil fields out here around Trinidad. You check out the satellite view. Well, there's a little pond out there. It looks like a natural pond. That's about 5 miles underneath this area. I do know there is some operations out here in terms of pumping operations and whatnot, but looks like that earthquake there specifically not around any of them for now. New Madrid seismic zone waking up a little bit out here. 2.0 from yesterday, 1.7 this morning. Last 7 days of earthquake activity shows 4 earthquakes here in the 2 range in the New Madrid seismic zone. South Carolina area, that region has seen a little bit of an uptick here recently out across the area of the Coronacá. Is that right? Coronacá? Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. South Carolina area. If not, please correct me. I have no issue with that. North of Greenwood here. They had a bunch of 2s and some 1s out there. Really no main quake going on. Just a little odd sequence of earthquakes swarming. The latest one today, a little bit further up north around the Blue Ridge Mountains with a 1.5. So regional strain out here somewhat increasing. Some movement up into the New Jersey area as well with a 1.3 from yesterday. So just a little bit of activity stirring up out there. Someone mentioned about an earthquake out here off the Florida coast of I think they said a 4.9. I was looking at the seismograph stations out there, and I couldn't see anything that would lead me to believe that there was a 4.9 out there. Actually, it was centered here in Florida, if I remember right. I got an email showing that there was an earthquake out here, but it has to be something to do with the rainfall they've received recently. A 4.9 of that magnitude would be felt and reported across a broad area, and I can't find anything related to that. So some type of issue going on there with a seismograph that maybe sent out a false report. But USGS didn't show anything. I think this came off of an earthquake app, they said. Hawaii, nothing major going on there today. A couple smaller earthquakes. That's about it. Nothing going on in the Atlantic. Pretty quiet out here. Most of the movement today, it looks like it's centered across the Mediterranean with these forests stirring up out there. 3.9 into the Japan area here, just off the coast of Taiwan as well. So we'll see just kind of what happens here today. We do have the member drawing coming up later this afternoon here. Probably going to shoot for about between 3 and 4 p.m. here, California time, this afternoon. So I got a few things to do this morning and early afternoon time period. So anytime after 3, I'll be free. look for that. If you're not a member, jump on board. We'll be giving away some prizes here today to the members. But aside from that, earthquake activity, let's look at the seismograph stations here. A couple smaller earthquakes on the Solomon Island station. But the rest of these graphs out here look pretty quiet. Let's go ahead and see what we got here for space weather activity. Coming down from a M flare, it looks like. M1 or actually M2.1 here peaked out at just a short time ago. I bet you that's from the Earth-facing sunspot right here. Is this going to work? Hello? This area. That's the only region I can see that would be producing the M flare. Uncertain, though, on if it produced any type of CME. Doesn't look like it. But our flare threat right now, somewhat limited. 10% chance for an X flare. M flare at 55% chance. C flare around 99% chance or so. There's the aurora forecast. Not anything. There's really not anything major there in the forecast in terms of the auroras. So that's that is the story on that. We do have a couple different regions on the far side here of the sun. This is about a day old. We got this fairly large, complex sunspot area here. Probably about center disk on the far side right now. We'll see that here in about a week, I believe, cresting on the eastern limb if this holds together. Looks like it's a fairly active region in terms of coverage, but who knows? You know, don't really know unless we see some data coming in that there's been some large far side explosions. But as far as coverage goes, that's a fairly massive sunspot region. Space or Storm Prediction Center out here today. Severe weather, nothing major in the forecast. Just a little bit of thunderstorm activity here around the Four Corners and up around the Ohio area. A couple small areas of thunderstorm activity down in the south as well. And far as any hurricane activity, let's go ahead and check these models out and see what we got here for the Gulf of Mexico as we put this into motion. Nothing coming close here to land. Looks like maybe some tropical system down here in the Pacific that will be getting caught up here in the jet stream, bringing rainfall to the desert southwest and Texas area. Those guys could always use a little bit more rain, right? And that's about it. I mean, we got looks like the system here coming up in the west coast around the 24th is back on the map, bringing with it some rainfall and some snowfall to the Pacific Northwest, even Northern California. So we got some cooler weather coming up. And we'll see how this works out. These models are, a little iffy. Tropical systems out here got a low possibility of a formation of a tropical system down around the Caribbean area throughout the next 7 days. Low at 20%, so not really too concerned about that. This area over here, another tropical disturbance, 50% chance in the next 7 days of tropical systems, but forming a tropical system. But as far as I know, it's going to get caught up in the patterns out here and not come anywhere close to the states. So that is good news. Those guys don't need any more disturbances there in the region as far as tropical systems go. Aside from that, folks, things looking pretty quiet out here for now on the earthquake side of things. I mean, it's always moving out here, right? We're always getting earthquake activity. That's the thing. We're always in consistent motion out here in terms of Pacific, or in terms of the plate boundary activity. If I were to pull up, and it would be a mess out here, but if we pulled up every agency and every reporting station out here, you would see that there's microquakes out here all across the area of the plate boundaries every single day in terms of continuous movement. But I wouldn't want the earthquake 3D globe to look something like that. And that's just the last 7 days of earthquake activity of 2.5 and above, and only 2 agencies reported. Imagine if we put every agency out here, you would see that things are always continuously in motion. There's always earthquake activity out here. Almost every single day we get a 4-pointer or 5-pointer somewhere out in the world. That's just plate tectonics, and some regions see more than others. Right now, it looks like it's focused out there around the Mediterranean area, Turkey region. Seeing a little bit of uptick in the activity out here for now, but things switch up and they move around and then they change. You mess around with one piece of the jigsaw puzzle, it affects the other piece, and accordingly, you know, there's a lot going on out there, depending on also the convection underneath the area. So we're always in motion. That's the awesome thing about this planet here. It's not a boring planet. Very active in terms of the processes. All right, I'm out of here, folks. Have yourself a good day. We'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later. Don't forget, if you didn't get a chance to check out that comet later this evening, I've been seeing it at about 7:20, just about as it gets, as the light here really starts to turn dark after sunset. It's very visible in the western sky. North, it'd be kind of to the right and up a little bit from Venus. You won't miss Venus. Venus is a beautiful, bright planet there, lit up in the sky. And it's just to the north. It'd be to the right and up a little bit there from the horizon. And it's going to get higher and higher in the sky as we head through this month. But also at the same time, it's going to get a little bit dimmer. But here this week, I think, is our prime viewing opportunities here for this comet that was last out here about 80,000 years ago. So that's, think about that. That's a lot has passed since then. So this comet has had quite the journey and given us a little show out here. If you got even your cell phone, if you utilize the exposure time, say to about 3 seconds, and you're able to keep your phone fairly steady, that will bring you a beautiful shot of this comet. Much more visible in the image compared to what you would see with your eyes. You can still see it with your eyes if you got good vision, just not as bright and as brilliant as a cell phone or even a better camera would provide there in terms of viewing this comet. But I was out there last night checking it out. I may be out there again. I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty neat. Go check it out here. Western sky to the right and up to the north a little bit, or up into the horizon a little bit higher than Venus, just after sunset. 45 minutes after sunset. Like I said, I've been catching it about 7:20 p.m. here, California time. All right, have a good one, folks. We're out of here. We'll catch you guys out here a little bit later.